Hi everyone, my name is Miss Amrita, and I'm here from the Charlotte Mecklenburg Library to serve you here at Camp Holiday, Camp in a Box. And I learned that this week you are studying holidays, and so I wanted to share a little bit about an upcoming holiday in the fall called Veterans Day. And then I wanted to share a little bit about an Indian holiday called Diwali, because last week when we were exploring countries from around the world, I shared about India, and so I thought this would be a great continuation. So again, I know that you're learning a lot this week about Valentine's Day and Christmas and Easter and Veterans Day and so many different holidays. And so I wanted to talk about Veterans Day because it's so dear to my heart, as well as Diwali. So we're going to jump right in, okay? All right, so a lot of people wonder, what is Veterans Day? And so I think the first place to think about is what is or who is a veteran? So veterans are people who serve or maybe have served in the military in times of war or peace. So basically anybody who has served in our US military, they're considered a veteran when they leave the military. And so there's a lot of different branches of our military. Can you think of a few of them? I'll give you a minute. Let's see. Or you can pause me. You can go ahead and pause and think of a few different branches of the military. And then when you're ready, you can press play again. So there's the Army, and we have the Navy, and the Army, Navy, Air Force. There's also the Coast Guard. There's a lot of different branches of our military. And so anyone who is active in those branches, when they're discharged, honorably discharged, they become veterans. And so these are some pictures here of different veterans. You can see men and women can be veterans because everyone's welcome to join the military. And a lot of people wonder, what's so special about a veteran? Well, oh, here we go. What is the military? Sorry, let me backtrack real quick. So there are 5 branches, and just like we said, the Navy, Army, oh, I forgot Marines. How could I forget? The Air Force and the Coast Guard. And you may even have family who have served in one of these branches of the military. You may have family that are veterans. And so the one thing to keep in mind is what all of these people were doing. And why should we honor veterans? Well, the simple fact of the matter is anyone who joins the military is protecting and serving our great country, the United States. And I think that deserves a lot of recognition and honor, don't you? Yeah. So they're fighting for our freedoms on a regular basis. And we're going to talk a little bit more about what each branch of the military does. So, but keep in mind that no matter which branch you're in, you're fighting to protect and serve our country. So the United States Navy, they protect our waters and ocean ways that a lot of large ships have access to. And they also have different kinds of planes that are on these ships. Sometimes those are called aircraft carriers. The Navy extends below the water in submarines. And I'm going to share a virtual, some pictures of different types of naval aircraft carriers in a little bit. The Army keeps us safe on the ground. They have doctors and pilots and engineers and all kinds of different people. They've got educators. The U.S. Army is such an expansive group of people, and there's so many different ways to serve in the Army. And so again, our Veterans Day that we celebrate in the fall, it's to honor people from the Army, from the Navy, and so on and so forth. But this is a picture of two people in the military who are on a tank. The Marine Corps carries out different missions, and it says here on land, sea, and air. And they are usually the first branch of the military to help in large conflicts. So that could be a war, it could be a significant issue that's happening, maybe a dangerous situation. Marines are they go through a lot of really intense training, and they learn so much to again keep us safe and to keep people out of harm's way. The Air Force is basically anything that happens in our skies. They protect all of the fly zones basically over the US and even bordering the US. I grew up by an Air Force base in Satellite Beach, Florida called Patrick Air Force Base. You might have visited an Air Force base nearby. You might have visited maybe the Air Force Academy, which is in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And again, maybe you might have somebody in your family that was in the Air Force. So those are people to think about when it comes time for Veterans Day. And then the Coast Guard. The Coast Guard protects America's coasts and waterways, and they help rescue people that are in trouble in the water. The Coast Guard also provides a lot of aid when there's issues, maybe on the border, maybe there's issues near water, and they're there to help. So Coast Guard, it's exactly what it sounds like. They guard our coasts. And so who do you know that's a veteran? Maybe it could be a teacher, a grandparent, an uncle, an aunt. Maybe it's your mom and dad, a sibling. You never know, because people, they serve in the military and then they go on to have all kinds of jobs. So you might not even know a veteran, but I recommend that you talk to people, get to know them, and learn about them. And when you do learn that they're a veteran, you kind of learn that that's somebody that's very special, and they've worn some different hats in their life. So the difference between Memorial Day, which was in May, and Veterans Day, which is November 11th, Memorial Day is a day for remembering and honoring people who have died serving their country. Whereas Veterans Day is a day to remember and honor people who served in the military. So that's really the big difference. Somebody has passed away in a war, and we pay homage to them and recognize them on Memorial Day. But veterans, they are still living, thank goodness for that. And we have an opportunity to really celebrate the work that they've done in person. So the correct way to spell Veterans Day is actually without an apostrophe. And the reason I wanted to share this is because, a lot of people, they struggle to write, what they're like, what do I write in a card? And spelling veterans is a hard thing because it has an S at the end. And do we add an apostrophe? Do we not add an apostrophe? So here's a little trick to remember it. Veterans Day does not have an apostrophe, but it does include an S at the end of the word veterans. And that's because it's not a day that belongs to veterans, it's a day that honors veterans. So if it was veteran apostrophe S, that would mean that the day belongs to veterans, whereas this is a day we honor veterans, if that makes sense. All right, next up, and some different ways that people celebrate Veterans Day. There are a lot of parades. The parades are amazing because sometimes we get to see different branches of the military participate in the parade. People will fly their American flags on Veterans Day. It's also a day that a lot of veterans get a really nice special day of treatment, like good treatment. So there might be a restaurant that's honoring veterans and allowing all the veterans to come and have a lunch at their restaurant. Or maybe it's a barber shop and they want to give all veterans a haircut to say thank you for their service. So everybody does celebrates Veterans Day in their own special way, and people do it within their means. And you've got a couple of months to think about how you want to celebrate. So you could make a flag, you could make a poster or a banner. You can participate in a parade or visit a parade if you like. But I recommend you definitely spend the day learning about our country, learning about the military, and learning about how all these amazing people became veterans and why we should celebrate them. All right, so next we're going to talk about Diwali. Okay, so here are several resources that I highly encourage you to explore as you're learning about Veterans Day. First of all, the best place to start would be the VA, which means Veterans Affairs. So because the military is a part of our US government, so is this department. And this website is organized by the Veterans Affairs, United States Departments of Veterans Affairs. So you're going to get the most accurate information. You're going to get a really detailed timeline. Here on their main website, which is va.gov. And then I went through and I had to do a little bit of digging. I typed in Veterans Day in the search box. I got to this particular website on their page, and it goes into the history of Veterans Day. So I didn't realize this was something that we began celebrating after World War I. And in the United States, it's called Veterans Day, but in England, they call it Armistice Day, which has its own little interesting history there. So check it out. There's some really interesting things to explore here on the VA website. Another website I wanted to share is military.com. They have a history of Veterans Day. And here you can see some pictures of veterans. You can see a whole explanation of the history, how people celebrate, what you can do to celebrate. And then again, this is a really important distinguishment to make, which is the difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day, which we talked about. And then the last website I wanted to share is from defense.gov, which is the United States Department of Defense website. And there they also have some information about Veterans Day that you can explore on your own. Okay. And next we're going to talk about Diwali. Okay. So the Diwali festival is celebrated by Hindus. And Diwali is a holiday that's very, very popular in India, but also celebrated by Hindus and Indians all over the world. So I wanted to share a little bit about this holiday, and it's truly one of my favorites. So, Diwali. Diwali is actually a festival that takes place in the fall. The date changes every year because the Hindu calendar operates on a lunar calendar. So a lot of holidays actually change in our calendar. But basically, this holiday celebrates the conquering of good over evil. And it's very steeped in a mythology about a kingdom called Ayodhya. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a little bit. This is a picture of somebody wearing a traditional outfit during Diwali. And it's, again, Diwali means Festival of Lights, and it's celebrated in the holiday time. This is a picture of a temple where people would celebrate Diwali, or you can celebrate from home. So Diwali is celebrated in October or November, and it's celebrated over 5 nights. People decorate their house just like we do at Christmas time and exchange gifts just like at Christmas and on Hanukkah. And there's a lot of fireworks. So kind of like a mashup between 4th of July and Christmas, if you will. But it's a really fun holiday. And again, it's celebrated for 5 nights. This is a picture of a lantern that says Happy Diwali. And we put lanterns everywhere because it's called the Festival of Lights. So we light up the whole house. So the story of Diwali is, again, centered around a kingdom of Ayodhya. And there was a prince named Ram, and he was supposed to be the king of Ayodhya. He's the rightful heir to Ayodhya. And one day he meets a woman named Sita, and they're married. But Ram has an evil stepmother, and she doesn't want Ram to be the king of Ayodhya. She wants her son, Ram's brother, to be the king. And so she tells Ram and his wife Sita, you have to go live in the forest. And she was hoping that a demon king named Ravan would take Ram and Sita so that she wouldn't have to deal with them. But when his brother finds out what his stepmother has done, his brother says, I can't believe you would do this and send Ram away into this dangerous forest. I'm going to stay here and I'm going to protect his throne until he comes back to our kingdom. And so over the course of, I think it's 14 years that Ram is in the forest, eventually he and Sita start finding their way back to the kingdom of Ayodhya. And the only reason they could find their way back is because everyone in the kingdom lit a candle and wanted Ram to come back. So I'm sharing this story from my memory, probably not doing the actual story of Ramayana very much justice right now. But I just wanted to give you a very quick 5-cent tour of this story. The story of Ram and Sita and the kingdom of Ayodhya has been adapted in so many ways. You can find comic books, you can find sci-fi books around this storyline. You can find stories about Ram and Sita from Sita's perspective. It's a really interesting story. And because they go into the forest, there's so many characters in the forest that are introduced in the story that I'm not able to share about right now. So if you ever get a chance, I highly recommend that book, Ramayana. So again, this is the Festival of Lights, and there's a lot of prayer because it's a religious holiday. There's also a lot of decorations. So this is actually an image of something called Rangoli. And Rangoli is an art form where you take sand that's different colors and you lay it on the ground in a special design. And Rangoli symbolizes how everything isn't really permanent. And so people will make their designs out of either powdered flowers or maybe grains of rice, or they'll use beans, or they'll use flour that's been colored. And they make this beautiful design, and then they eventually, the wind just kind of picks it up and moves it and shapes it, and eventually it just disappears. And that's kind of the idea behind Rangoli, is it's not a permanent art form, it's temporary. And so people do some really intricate, elaborate designs. Some people do very simple. You can see this person has done this beautiful design here in the shape of maybe a lotus flower. Very pretty. You'll see all kinds of Rangoli. People decorate and make all kinds of food, just like we do at Christmas. This is a couple that's eating something called gulab jamun, and those are delicious, some of my favorite treats. There's also something called coconut barfi, which is very, very famous at Diwali time. And it's so yummy if you like coconut. But the closest thing I can equate it to, it's like a fudge. It's like a coconut fudge. It's so good. This one up here I love too. This is called gajar ka halwa. And gajar ka halwa is a fudge made out of carrots. So it sounds crazy, but don't knock it till you try it. There's a lot of music and dancing. And in the days leading up to Diwali, people do a lot of cleaning in their homes because during Diwali, we also celebrate the New Year in our Hindu calendar. So people like to keep their homes clean before they start the New Year, and then they like to keep their homes clean right before Diwali begins as well, so that the decorations and everything look really nice, but also to welcome positivity into the home. This is a picture of somebody dancing during Diwali. And that's it. Okay, so the last thing I wanted to show you relating to Diwali is all the different designs of rangoli that somebody can make. So you see there's some people who make their rangoli into the shape of a peacock. And this is all flour and different candles that they've made this design with. Here's a beautiful just circular lotus pattern, and you can see the edge of the lotus also looks like a candle. So a lot of people will make rangoli as intricate or as ornate as they like. This is rangoli made from flowers, which I think is one of my favorite, is doing it out of fresh flowers. But there's so many different ways to decorate for Diwali, and I just wanted to show you this one very special art form, which again is called rangoli, Rangoli. All right, well, thank you so much for having me again this week, and I am looking forward to seeing you again. Bye.